Okay. Mas cutie pie ba? Tapos yung isa, yung yellow, yung brown, ano. Okay. Huwag magagalit si Ses. Sasabihin masyadong pambata. Hindi. Ayaw mo ba?
Ay, maganda naman pala. Ay, shit, ang laki ng katawan ko.
But, una, hindi. Ikalawa, walang magsasabing natatakot lahat sa'yo. Joking ha.
Hindi, maganda naman pala. Kasi parang yung pag tinignan ko yung una. Ay, hindi ba siya
Sinaktan.
Hindi.
Hindi. The truth is better.
Go.
Even if I'm hurt.
Ay, I'm
No,
sorry.
no, ikaw naman. Thank you, sis.
Ayan,
Okay.
Mo ulit mo.
Oo, cute, di ba? Parang natural. Oh. Thanks, sis. Ay, kita? Okay. Joy, patay. Thank you, ah.
Nagalaw ba? Sorry. Yan. Yan. Perfect. Galing ko. Joke lang. Game? Ready? In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hi, I'm Margie Holmes, psychologist, author, and educator. We'll be talking about something that we're all guilty of every now and then, and that is lying. First, let's define lying. Put almost simplistically, lying is telling a false statement, an untruth. But not all things, of course, are that simple. For example, Joseph Cortez asks, what about those who do not speak up, who say nothing? Is that lying? Maureen Jean Lara answers, I do not think they are the same. Lying for me only happens when you are asked a question and you do not tell the truth. Not telling something isn't lying because there wasn't a question asked in the first place. In other words, I think, Joseph, what you're saying is being economical with the truth is not lying. And Maureen, let us not volunteer information if we're not really being asked. Now, based on the answers we got, one seems to think, or I seem to think, that there are basically 4 kinds of lying that people in Facebook and people who tweeted mentioned. One is what Joseph says, which is being economical with the truth. Number 2 is what Lute Helen calls altruistic lying, which is trying and lying that can be used for the good, but only for altruistic reasons. For example, altruistic or positive lying is when one lies to save others from harm. For example, lying to oppressors to save the oppressed. Think of World War II when the Nazis were looking around to kill as many Jews as possible. So lying to protect someone is altruistic lying, according to Lute. Another example is preventing someone from being hurt by lying. For example, instead of telling your grandmother the truth that your grandson died of AIDS, you just say your grandson died of pneumonia. Then Maureen Jean Lara adds, since lying is done in order to protect something greater, then I would say that this is not bad because it is, in quotes, merely altruistic or positive lying. Then we have what we like to call the white lie. Bernadette Sharks give an example, which is, do I look fat in this? So, taking all those sort of white lies, and I'm sure you know many, let us summarize with what Paul Montinola said, which is, people lie because they want others to feel better. Joyce Matignas then talks about a different kind of lying, which is not as easy, when he says, when I lie for the sake of lying, then it means I'm in psycho mode. So let's talk about a pathological liar, okay? Actually, a lot of times, pathology and sociopathy are mixed up in the sense that a lot of pathological liars, or you could call psychopathic liars are what Fred D. Oz says, which is these liars feel no remorse. The fact of the matter is, unfortunately, psychopaths and sociopaths are very good psychologists, and therefore they know exactly what to say, so you will believe them. And what you see is something like systematic desensitization. They tell you first very light things that you believe, and then it gets heavier and heavier, and you don't know. You know, you're like the frog in boiling water. Since the heat is very low, you can accept that. And like, since the lie is very little, you can accept that. Then, when the lie is ratcheted up, like when the frog gets hotter and hotter but doesn't realize it, that's when you get hurt, because you have been trained by the sociopath or psychopath to believe what he says. So the first time is, you know, I get really jealous when you talk to other guys, which is already a thing in itself. But some women find this flattering. Then later it goes, I get really jealous when a guy looks at you. First of all, that's not under your control, but you might accept that. Then later, you know, I don't want you to go out because then I get jealous, etc., etc. Now, how do you know you have fallen for a psychopath's lies? Usually it is only when you break up, which is what the sadness is. You know, you break up and you can't help asking yourself, what happened? I did everything he wanted me to. You are usually so stunned because you don't know what hit you. But you see, the psychopath doesn't care because he's moved on to someone else. Now, Desiree says, and it is true, if the person is already a pathological liar, then he needs treatment. That is absolutely right. However, the problem is most pathological or sociopathic liars don't feel that they need treatment because it is through lying that they get what they want. Finally, another kind of liar that came out in Facebook is what we can call a compulsive liar. Compulsive liars often feel guilty of their propensity to lie, and yet they just can't help it. Rebecca Joyce Cañares contributes, I have a friend po who constantly lies. He believes in what he says. Nalulungkot ako kasi I think he needs help. He lies about everything and he doesn't even know it. Now, before we go, there are two things that I'd like you to think about. Okay, one is, when you talk about an altruistic lie, you actually take a lot of responsibility that I don't know if you have the right to. Let us just give one example. For example, who decides whether you should tell your mom that she is actually dying from an incurable disease? Or, you know, just pretend it's nothing. So usually the excuse is she lives the rest of her life relaxed and, you know, not worried. But the fact of the matter is, if you make that decision for her, lie that she has nothing to worry about, in order just to spare her from the fear or the pain, what if what you're doing is taking away her freedom? For example, she'd like to write a will. For example, she'd like to say her goodbyes to people, even people whom she's known for a long time. Maybe she wants to ask forgiveness from someone. Maybe she wants to mend fences. Even maybe she would like to do a few things which are on her bucket list, okay? So that is something to think about. The second thing which I think is important is there any way we can prevent lying? And that is our topic for next week. Well, that's it for today. If you have another point that you wish to bring up, or if you can suggest a factor which could have explored what we talked about even further, please comment below so we know what you're thinking and feeling, okay? In addition, if there are other topics you want us to discuss, well, please Facebook us, yes. Please tweet using the hashtag AskMargie or email us on askmargie@rappler.com. See you next week. Thank you. Thank you, Joy. Naku, dito na lang ha. Mamaya na. Ay. Joy, okay. Baka mabilis. Ito ba yung tama? Naku, nilagay wrong side.
Madali mo ba?
Joy, yung fan, pakibukas ha. At yung ikaw nasa iyo. Sheng Chung. Thank you. Tingnan mo, okay ba yung super shiny? Masyadong matagalaga yung isa eh.
Mag-isa.
Yung kabilaan.
Tama ba yun?
Excited ako. Hi, Joy tuloy. Marge, can you hear me? We'll go. Hi, I'm Margie Holmes, psychologist, author, and educator. Last week, we tackled the definition of lying. Today, let's discuss the reasons people do it and if we can prevent them from doing so. I ask, why do people lie? Desiree Season, to save their asses. Maureen Jean Lara agrees, self-preservation. Sometimes this self-preservation can be literal, as when Bob Cootey says, when the truth gets you beaten up, you lie to avoid more beatings. Ella Ola Quintanar says, I have a friend who just lies to make her life more interesting. Mark Anthony Cabrera, because it's the easy way out or because they don't want to be labeled gossip makers. Alfie Melia gives some reasons. They have been brought up by parents to always be the top notcher and to underachieve is unacceptable. When they could not meet such unrealistic expectations, they lie. Alfie also says that religion makes people lie because there are so many things which religion considers sinful and thus prohibits. But most of what religion prohibits and calls sinful is based on natural urges. Thus, most individuals are doomed to fail, and they lie because admitting to what they have done would be tantamount to being guilty and sinful. Then I ask, is there a way we can prevent lying from people? Your answers, Leah Joy A. Serrano. Sadly, we can't. It is their prerogative. May Magsino, I don't think anyone who could stop someone from lying, especially if the liar has lived the life of lying. It's ingrained in him, and his day won't be complete if he doesn't lie. Bopi Espirito, we can't. Some people will lie compulsively, even for no valid reason. It's like an itch that needs to be scratched at any given moment. It could be anything from, I'm buying this for a friend, to no, I don't remember saying that. Raul J. De Vera Jr., there are people who hate to lie, who have to lie just to avoid confrontations. Desiree Season, no one can stop anyone from lying because it's a personal thing for the liar, like personal hygiene or sexual orientation. Diana Sison says, how can anyone stop anyone from lying short of a physical rewiring of the brain? Mark Anthony Cabrera, you can't stop them for lying. It's a decision they have to make for themselves. Looking at all your answers, I am extremely happy that the majority of you said, no, we cannot prevent people from lying. This is a very mature and realistic response. We can't stop anyone from doing anything, no matter how hard we try. The only ones we can change are ourselves. The faster we learn this, the less we blame ourselves if people misbehave, and thus the more accepting we become of ourselves. And maybe in time, the more accepting people become of themselves too. Well, that's it for today. Thank you very, very much. Ay, muntik na mahulog. Ba't hindi ko makita yung sarili ko?